Intel may have just hinted at one of the biggest changes PC builders have wanted for years. A new report, based on an interview with Intel executive Robert Hollach, suggests the company could finally move toward longer-lasting desktop CPU sockets, more like what AMD has done with AM4 and AM5. And if that actually happens, it would be a huge deal for gamers, DIY builders, and anyone who hates replacing a motherboard every time they want a CPU upgrade. So let's break down what was said, why it matters, what is confirmed, what is still rumor, and what this could mean for your next PC build. The core of the story comes from Club 386, which asked Robert Hollach, Intel's vice president and general manager for the Enthusiast channel, whether he sees a future where Intel sockets support more CPU generations. His answer was short but very telling. He said, quote, "I do. That was it. Just 2 words, but for longtime PC enthusiasts, those 2 words say a lot." Hollach then expanded on that idea by saying Intel's gaming CPU organization now has new product, business, marketing, and engineering teams, and that the people behind those products see themselves as PC builders and enthusiasts. He also said Intel is not ignoring user feedback, that the company watches that feedback closely, and that it influences how Intel thinks about products and roadmaps over 6 months, 1 year, and even multi-year timeframes. That matters because one of the most common complaints about Intel desktop platforms has been socket turnover. For years, a lot of buyers have felt that Intel asks them to buy into a new motherboard platform too often. Even when the performance is good, the platform story has often felt expensive and short-lived. You buy a board, you buy a CPU, and by the time you are ready to upgrade, you may also need a new motherboard and sometimes new memory as well. AMD, on the other hand, built a lot of goodwill by stretching socket life much further. AM4 became famous for giving users a long upgrade path across multiple Ryzen generations, and AMD has officially committed to supporting AM5 through 2027 and beyond. That kind of promise changes how buyers think. It makes the motherboard feel like a platform investment instead of a one-generation purchase. And that is exactly why this Intel story is getting so much attention. If Intel is genuinely moving toward longer socket support, this is not a tiny enthusiast detail. It is a platform strategy change. It affects total upgrade cost, motherboard value, buyer confidence, and even whether people are willing to jump back to Intel after spending several years on AMD. Now, it is important to separate what is confirmed from what is speculation. What is confirmed is that Robert Hollach publicly said he wants a future where Intel sockets support more CPU generations, and he made it clear Intel is listening to enthusiast feedback. What is also confirmed is that Intel's current Core Ultra 200S Plus desktop processors remain compatible with existing 800 series motherboards. So Intel is at least showing some continuity inside its current platform. What is not confirmed is the exact roadmap beyond that. There is no formal Intel announcement right now saying, this next socket will support 3 generations, or this next socket will last until a certain year. That part does not exist yet. So anyone presenting this as a locked-in guarantee is going too far. Where the speculation comes in is around Intel's rumored next major desktop socket, commonly referred to as LGA 1954, which is widely associated with the upcoming Nova Lake generation. Reports and leaks have suggested that this socket might not be a one-and-done platform, and that it could potentially support multiple future CPU families after Nova Lake as well. Some reports even mention names like Razor Lake, Titan Lake, and Hammer Lake as possible follow-ups on the same socket. But again, that specific multi-generation roadmap is still rumor territory. Interesting rumor, maybe even increasingly believable rumor, but still rumor. The real news today is not that Intel officially guaranteed 4 generations on one socket. The real news is that one of Intel's top enthusiast-facing executives directly signaled that longer socket life is something the company wants. And honestly, even that by itself is a major shift in tone. For a long time, Intel's messaging around desktop platforms often felt focused on performance first, while platform longevity was treated like a secondary concern. Now the company seems to understand that enthusiast buyers are not only comparing benchmark charts. They are also comparing upgrade paths, motherboard value, BIOS maturity, cooler compatibility, memory continuity, and the overall feeling that a platform will still make sense 2 or 3 years from now. There is also a practical reason this shift could happen now. On mainstream desktops, The industry is not in the middle of a dramatic standard transition the way it was when DDR5 first arrived. AMD's AM5 platform already centers on DDR5 and PCIe 5.0, and Intel's modern desktop platforms are also operating in that same broader era. If the industry is not about to force a giant platform-level reset, then there is a stronger case for extending socket life instead of changing it quickly. That said, Intel could still argue for a new socket when there is a real technical reason. More pins, different power delivery needs, I/O changes, memory changes, or major platform-level features can all justify a socket change. So longer life does not mean permanent life. It just means Intel may be starting to think more like enthusiasts do. Change the socket when you truly have to, not just because a new CPU generation is arriving. This is also happening at an important time for Intel's desktop reputation. The company has been working to strengthen its enthusiast message, and Robert Hollach has become one of the clearest public voices for that effort. Intel recently announced Core Ultra 200S Plus desktop chips that stay on the current 800 series motherboard ecosystem, and Hollach has been front and center describing those products and Intel's direction for enthusiasts. That gives his comments extra weight, because they do not sound like a random offhand statement. They sound like part of a broader attempt to rebuild trust with desktop buyers. So what does this mean if you are planning a build right now? If you already own an Intel 800 series motherboard, the short-term picture is straightforward. Intel has officially said the new Core Ultra 200S Plus desktop processors will work with current 800 series boards. So there is still some life in the existing platform. That is good news for current Intel users who want an upgrade without replacing everything. If you are deciding between Intel and AMD for a brand new build, the decision is more nuanced. AMD still has the clearer official platform longevity story today, because AM5 support through 2027 and beyond is already on record. Intel, by contrast, is signaling a new direction, but it has not published the same kind of concrete long-term commitment yet. So if your number one priority is buying into the most clearly defined upgrade path today, AMD still has the stronger official position. But if Intel follows through on what Hollach is hinting at, that gap could finally start to close with the next socket generation. And if that happens, it could be one of the healthiest changes the desktop CPU market has seen in years. Because the best competition is not just about who wins a benchmark by 5%. It is about who gives users the better overall platform experience. Better performance matters. Better efficiency matters. Better prices matter. But giving people confidence that their motherboard will not become a dead end after a short cycle? That matters too, and arguably more than companies used to admit. So my take is this: treat this as an encouraging signal, not a confirmed revolution. Intel has not fully announced an AMD-style socket strategy yet. But for the first time in a long while, the company is publicly acknowledging the issue in a direct way, through a senior enthusiast-facing executive, and doing it in language PC builders have wanted to hear. If Intel turns those words into a real roadmap, then the next desktop platform battle will not just be about raw performance. It will be about trust, upgrade value, and long-term platform planning. And that would be a win for everyone, no matter which brand you prefer. For now, the bottom line is simple. Intel is listening. The company is hinting that future desktop sockets could last for multiple CPU generations. AMD still holds the stronger official promise on platform longevity today. And the next big step is whether Intel backs this message with a formal roadmap when Nova Lake and its successor platforms become clearer. That is the story to watch. If this turns into an official multi-generation socket commitment, it could be one of the most important Intel desktop announcements in years.